Ever since the tragedy struck on the set of Rust, where Alec Baldwin shot and killed a woman, Helena Hutchins, and also injured the director who was standing over her shoulder, Joel Souza, I believe is his name. We've had a lot of information about there. And the first 24 hours was basically F Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin did this. Alec Baldwin was responsible. Alec Baldwin should go to prison. Ever since then, things have changed a little bit. Now, some of that is just the news cycle. Some of that is different things coming out. And some of it is, of course, PR spin. Make no doubt about it. A lot of it is PR spin. We've had way more articles in the past 24 hours about, the armorer on set who is 24 years old and completely unexperienced. We've had more information about the assistant director, who is the last one to hold that gun before it went to Alec Baldwin, and who was the one that declared it a cold gun before Alec Baldwin grabbed it. And we've had articles like this: Alec Baldwin seen consoling family of slain cinematographer as set problems mount. Now, I want to be very clear about this. There is more than just one person to blame. There's a lot of blame to go around. But at the end of the day, Alec Baldwin did have that gun in his hand. And at the end of the day, that gun went off with live ammunition and killed an innocent woman and injured a director while that gun was in Alec Baldwin's hands. There was a lot of extreme negligence on this set, of which Alec Baldwin was the producer. When it comes to safety, when it comes to cutting corners, when it comes to all of these things, Alec Baldwin was also responsible for that. Alec Baldwin, no matter which way you try to spin it, shoulders a lot of blame for this, but so do some other people. And I want to go through the most comprehensive, I guess you could say, list this timeline that happened, because it is so much more than just, oh, this was an accident, accidentally shot somebody, happens. It's way more complicated than that. It has to do with the conditions on set, safety violations that nothing was done about, what they're doing with live ammunition on the set. So I'm going to go through all this. I don't know how long it's going to take. Could be quite a while. Rust crew describes on-set gun safety issues and misfires days before final shooting. And this is one of the things, misfires, that we're going to talk about. The way that they describe misfires can be a little bit misleading. Not to use a pun, but it can be a little bit misleading that they're using the word misfire. And I'll tell you why. Hours before actor Alec Baldwin fatally shot a cinematographer on the New Mexico set of Rust with a prop gun. Again, prop gun. I want to talk about that. A half dozen camera crew workers walked off the set to protest working conditions. The camera operators and their assistants were frustrated by the conditions surrounding the low-budget film, including complaints about long hours, long commutes, waiting for their paychecks, according to 3 people familiar with the matter who were not authorized to comment. Now, we keep hearing this term prop gun thrown around. There are prop guns, right? There is such a thing as a prop gun that is specifically designed. It has it blocked off so that a projectile literally cannot go down there. And it also is blocked off so that it has a place for the blanks to vent, and so that you couldn't actually put live ammunition in there. Right? That is what a prop gun is. This is not a prop gun. This was a real live fire gun that you can load blanks in, but you can also load live rounds in. This is not a prop gun that was used to shot. Now, people are using this term because they think, oh, well, it's a gun that's on the set, so it's used as a prop, so we'll say prop gun. That is inaccurate. That is not the way it should be described. This is a gun. You could load a fucking bullet in it and shoot, clearly, because that's what happened. Now, they were using live ammunition. We have reports of them using live ammunition on set. Get this, guys. We might talk about this later in one of these articles. They were using live ammunition to literally just go around and like shoot shit in between sets. In their off time, they were using these guns to target practice, to mess around with. That's one of the reasons live ammunition was on set. Another one was for some things they were doing with effects, and I'll get to that as well, but live ammunition was on set. This gun was used to fire live ammunition. This was not a prop gun. Want to be clear. Safety protocols standard in the industry include gun inspections were not strictly followed on Rust. near Santa Fe, sources say. They said at least one of the camera operators complained last weekend to a production manager about gun safety on set. 3 crew members who were present at the Bonanza Creek Ranch on Saturday said they were particularly concerned about 2 accidental prop gun discharges. Baldwin's stunt double accidentally fired 2 rounds Saturday after being told that the gun was, quote, cold. Lingo for a weapon that doesn't have any ammunition, including blanks. 2 crew members who witnessed the episode told LA Times. So just days before Alec Baldwin shot and killed someone, his stunt double fired 2 rounds after being told the gun was cold. Now, there's not a whole lot of information in this, right? There's not a whole lot of information in here that says, was it a actual prop gun or was it a real gun like the ones that they obviously also using? It also doesn't say whether they fired blanks or real ammo. This is what I will say. I've had a couple people talk to me. I've had some people that are familiar with the situation, that know people that are on set, know people in the industry. Had a couple people reach out. This is what I will say. This is not their words. These are mine. To me, if he fired blanks, I don't think there'd be a whole lot of people complaining about safety. I think there's a damn good chance that these discharges, they call them misfires, but these discharges were also live rounds 5 days before this woman was killed. Doesn't that sound like fucking extreme negligence going on this set? Doesn't that sound insane that no one stopped and intervened and did anything or shut this shit down? It's unacceptable. Alec Baldwin is the guy. Alec Baldwin, this is his baby. This is his project. He's the producer, but he also put up a lot of money for this. This was his show. That's what everyone's saying. Now, everyone's also saying that Alec Baldwin is an arrogant, pompous piece of shit, which doesn't surprise me because we've seen him. We've seen him talk about politics. We've seen him talk about a lot of stuff. Doesn't surprise me. People say he's a pain in the ass to work for, and people hate working with him. And maybe that also resulted in what happened on set, because maybe people were afraid to stand up to him, afraid to do their jobs the right way, afraid that they might lose their jobs and be out of Hollywood if they upset Alec Baldwin. That is a potential. It might be what happened. There should have been an investigation into what happened, a crew member said. There were no safety meetings. There was no assurance that it wouldn't happen again. All they wanted to do was rush. A colleague was so alarmed by the prop gun misfire. So we got told that this was a prop gun misfire. You know, that was like the initial thing that came out. A misfire to me can be 2 things. One, you pull the trigger and it doesn't do what you would expect it to do. That would be a misfire to me in my gun history. Or, yeah, technically, I guess if the gun was just sitting there and it fucking went off, then that would also be a misfire. But it's tough to tell. It's tough to tell what's actually happening because of all of the nomenclature that they're using, which is wrong so often. It's just wrong so often when we go through all these articles. A colleague was so alarmed, he sent a text message to the unit production manager. We've now had 3 accidental discharges. This is super unsafe. The safety of our cast and crew is top priority of Rust Productions and everyone associated with the company, Rust Movie Productions said in a statement. Though we were not made aware of any official complaints concerning weapon or prop safety on set, we will be conducting an internal review of our procedures while production is shut down. We will continue to cooperate with the Santa Fe authorities, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do an internal investigation to try to cover up as much as we can because we know we're going to get our ass sued. That's what that really means. The tragedy occurred Thursday afternoon during filming of a gunfight that began in the church that is part of the old western town at the ranch. Baldwin's character, get this, Baldwin's character was supposed to back out of the church, according to production notes obtained by the Times. It was the 12th day of a 21-day shoot. So, from my understanding, all the things I've pieced together, they were not even he was not supposed to be firing this gun during this shot. And the reason that they were there, and I'll go through them more because I think it lays it out. Cinematographer Helena Hutchins was huddled around a monitor lining up for her next camera shot when she was accidentally killed by the prop gun. It was a real gun, guys. Prop guns do not fire live ammo. This fired live ammunition. This was a gun. The actor was preparing to film a scene in which he pulls out a gun out of his holster, according to a source close to the production. Crew members had already shouted, "Cold gun" on the set. The filmmaking team was lining up to camera angles and had yet to retreat to the video village, an on-set area where the crew gathers to watch filming from a distance via a monitor. So they were having Alec Baldwin stand there and line up what he was supposed to be looking at. So to line up the camera, then they were going to actually go film it and record it from a different safe location while he had a gun out. So they were lining it up. And as that happened, instead, the B camera operator was on a dolly with a monitor checking out the potential shots. Hutchins was looking at the monitor from over the operator's shoulder, and the director, Joel Souza, was crouching behind her. Baldwin removed the gun from its holster once without incident, but the second time he did so, ammunition flew toward the trio around the monitor. The projectile whizzed by the camera operator, penetrated Hutchins near her shoulder, then continued through to Souza. Hutchins immediately fell to the ground as crew members applied pressure to her wound in an attempt to stop the bleeding. So, to be clear, what it sounds like happened is they were setting up a shot. They were like, "Hey, Alec, this is what we want you to do. Can you just pull your gun out and show us, where you're going to be standing, what you're going to be looking at, that kind of thing?" He said, "Sure." Pulls the gun out once, nothing happens. Pulls the gun out again, and this gun that everybody had said was cold, no live ammunition in it, fires. Shoots her, goes through her, kills her, injures the director. Now, the fact that we're working with revolvers here is important. And I got to give a shout out to Devil-Eyed Elvis. He actually put a little video up on his YouTube channel kind of explaining, how it works with revolvers on set in some of these times. And with a revolver specifically, especially one that is based off an old Western that they're doing, a single action revolver, they can be set off without pulling the trigger. You can pull the hammer back a little bit. If he had tried to pull it out and pull the hammer back and cock it, and maybe had not cocked it fully and it released it and went forward, that could set it off. There's a chance Alec Baldwin didn't pull the trigger and he was just fucking negligent about the entire thing in general. So we will see, but that's what happens when you don't go through these checks, when you don't check your weapon, when you have live ammunition on set mixed with all the blanks. It's despicable that this happened. We're going to talk about the people that led to this. Late Friday, the Associated Press reported Baldwin was handed a loaded weapon by an assistant director who indicated it was safe to use in the moments before the actor fired it, according to court records. The assistant director did not know the prop gun was loaded with live rounds, according to a search warrant filed. The person in charge of overseeing the gun props, known as the armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, could not be reached for comment. The 24-year-old is the daughter of veteran movie armorer Thel Reed and had recently completed her first film as the head armorer for a movie, The Old Way, with Clint Howard and Nicolas Cage. Now, I want to show you a little bit about her. We talked about her today, this morning. This is not her. This is a random video of a person with no arms. I don't know why this is on there. It's honestly kind of creepy. I want to get it off, please. What is this? That's fine. Rust armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed once gave unchecked gun to 11-year-old actor. The inexperienced armorer in charge of weapons on set of Alec Baldwin's movie Rust had given a gun to an 11-year-old actress without checking properly for safety. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, daughter of prominent Hollywood armorer Thel Reed, was head armorer on set in Santa Fe, where Baldwin fired a prop gun loaded with a live round. Gutierrez-Reed's alleged misstep happened on the set of the upcoming Nicolas Cage film The Old Way and temporarily halted filming. She was reloading the gun on the ground where there were pebbles and stuff. One source told the outlet, "We didn't see her check it. We didn't know if something got in the barrel or not." Gutierrez-Reed reportedly handed the gun to the child actress Ryan Kiera Armstrong, forcing concerned crew members to intervene, the report said. The gun was then checked for barrel obstruction, according to the sources. She was a bit careless with the guns, waving it around every now and again. There were a couple times she was loading the blanks and doing it in a fashion we thought was unsafe. This is the person who's in charge. This is only her second ever job as armorer. And this is the person that Alec Baldwin and his production team decided to put in charge. We have more information. about this person, including the fact that she said she was nervous about her abilities as an armorer while she was working on the old way. I was really nervous about it at first, and I almost didn't take the job because I wasn't sure if I was ready. Well, you weren't ready. You weren't ready. That's quite obvious. Now, again, you can only put so much blame on her because she should never have been hired. Like this person should not have been hired and put in this position. And as we're going to go back to this LA Times article, you can see that there was cost cutting and cut corners and all these things throughout this entire production that I think led to this person getting hired. We just talked about this. She almost didn't take the job because she wasn't sure she was ready. Well, we found out a little bit more about this person, and maybe that this job, being an armorer, wasn't her top priority. I took this picture before I ever started modeling. I've just always been into making cool pictures and posing. When I took this, I was working on Magnificent Seven with my dad. So happy I found my purpose in life, along with a few other fun hobbies. My purpose in life, what? Taking pictures or modeling? That's what it sounds like you mean. The few fun hobbies might be being an armorer. Of course, you got this one. I'm 22 years young, ready for another year of draining men's wallets. Which piggies are going to contribute to my birthday shenanigans? So she's basically a thought, an online e-thought. Men give her money. And then this one, of course, is very ironic. She retweets this. You know what amazes me? Women have access to guns every day, and despite the way we are treated by society, by bosses, by men who claim to love us, even by the president, we're going on shooting rampages. Even by the president, we aren't going on shooting rampages with AR-15s anywhere. Take a lesson, men, and work on yourselves, not us. So I don't think this person should never have had this responsibility, should never have been put in this position. And of course, there's this video that's going around. I'll mute so I don't get an echo here. And I actually need to share my audio. Why don't I do that too? I'll share my audio so you can hear it in all its glory. Here we go.
Choke me like you hate me, but you love me. Low-key wanna date me when you
fuck me, touch me with the lights off and my chains on, baby.
So this is the person that is in charge of weapons on the set of Rust. I think that's probably a big contributing factor to this entire situation. Earlier in the day, the camera crew arrived as expected at 6:30 a.m., began gathering their gear and personal belongings to leave, one knowledgeable crew member told the Times. Labor trouble had been brewing for days on the dusty set of the Bonanza Creek Ranch. Shooting began on October 6th, and the members of the low-budget film said they had been promised the production would pay for the hotel rooms in Santa Fe. But after filming began, the crews were told they instead would be required to make the 50-mile drive from Albuquerque each day rather than stay overnight in Santa Fe. That rankled crew members who worried they might have an accident after spending 12 to 13 hours on the set and then an hour transit either way. Hutchins, the woman who lost her life, had been advocating for safer conditions for her team and was tearful when the camera crew left. She said, I feel like I'm losing my best friends. As the camera crew, members of the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees spent about an hour assembling their gear, several non-union crew members showed up to replace them, two of the knowledgeable people said. One of the producers ordered union members to leave the set and threatened to call security to remove them if they didn't leave voluntarily. Corners were being cut, and they brought in non-union people so they could continue shooting. The actual gun shooting occurred 6 hours after the union camera crew left. So they could have been, it might have saved their lives, to be honest with you. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said deputies were dispatched to Bonanza Creek Ranch Movies after calls to 911 on Thursday. Baldwin was starring in the movie and serving as one of the producers. And like I said, everyone has told me, everyone with knowledge of the situation has told me that this is Alec Baldwin's baby. This is like his project. He has money on the line for it. He's the lead producer for it. And he was the one to make all of these different calls on set, including who the armor would be, who the staff would be, what they would do, what they would use the money for, all this shit. Alec Baldwin is on the hook for that. This right here. In an email to its members, Local 44 of IATSE, I think that's how people say it, IATSE, a unit that represents the prop masters that shot and killed Hutchins and injured Souza on Thursday, was a live single round. As many of us have already heard, there was an accidental weapons discharge. A live single round was accidentally fired on set by the principal actor, hitting both the director of photography, Local 600 member Helena Hutchins, and director Joel Souza. Both were rushed to the hospital. A source close to Union 40 said Local 44 does not know what projectile was in the gun and clarified that live is an industry term, refers to a gun loaded with some material such as a blank ready for filming. Come on. And this is where the spin starts to come in and some of the disinformation. When they say live round, they mean live. They mean a fucking bullet. All right? That's what it was. We have evidence. We have other testimony of this. That's what it was. And so this is the Times article, the LA Times article that I think most covers the entire situation. And a lot of people, inside sources, are saying that this was going on. There was big safety problems. A lot of people were complaining about it. And now we have this coming out. Not only do you have all the stuff that's come out before about Alec Baldwin, about the negligence, about all the things we just covered in the LA Times article, the safety problems on set. We also have this from TMZ. And I know it's from TMZ. This has been confirmed by a lot of different people since this article came out. Alec Baldwin, gun that killed DP, director of photography, allegedly used for offset target practice. I think we can take allegedly out of there, but for legal reasons, we'll leave it in there. This has been confirmed by a lot of different people who are knowledgeable about this situation. The smoking gun that claimed the life of Helena Hutchins might have been more than just an on-set prop. It was also being fired recreationally, even when cameras weren't rolling. Multiple sources directly connected to the Rust production tell TMZ the same gun Alec Baldwin accidentally fired, hitting the DP and the director, was being used by crew members offset as well for what we're told amounted to target practice. And this is where the extreme negligence and the way that this set was run really comes into play. There was live ammunition on set. It was used by people randomly to just shoot this gun in the middle of the fucking desert. That's what was going on. So when I say that a lot of things led up to this accident happening, that it's more than just the armor, that it's more than just the assistant director, that it's more than just Alec Baldwin being a fucking idiot with a gun, the fact that this was allowed to happen. And again, this is Alec Baldwin's, he is producing this. This is Alec Baldwin's set. This is Alec Baldwin's people. These are the restrictions and the rules that he's kind of established on set. And to have something like this going down, target practice, are you kidding me? We're told this off-the-clock shooting, which is allegedly happening away from the movie lot, was being done with real bullets, which is how some who worked on the film believe a live round found its way into the chambers that day. Obviously, authorities want to speak to anyone who'd been using the weapon for target practice, and more importantly, to whoever was putting the gun back among the others used for filming. We've reached out to law enforcement to see if that's happened yet. There's also this. One source who was on the set, familiar with the goings-on of the crew, tells us when the cops showed up, they found live ammo and blanks were being stored in the same area. Another possible explanation for how an actual bullet got into the gun. Man. This is what I mean. There is so much more to uncover about this scenario. The way that Alec Baldwin was running this set and the fact that live ammunition was mixed with blanks. Now, you can tell the difference pretty easily, to be honest, between blanks and live ammunition. But when things like this happen, when you are using the gun for target practice in your off time on the set, this is how mistakes like this happen. This is how tragedies happen when people run their sets like this. And unfortunately for Helena Hutchins, she has lost her life due to a series of terrible mistakes by Alec Baldwin, the armor, the assistant director, and everyone involved. If there was anyone there that saw this happen and didn't report it, they hold some semblance of responsibility for this as well. This is tragic, and it's just one of the many things that's coming out about this story that seems insane, but that's what happened. Now, here is a question. Why is live ammo a movie set anyways? There are some times, again, speaking to people in the industry, there are some times when live ammunition is actually used for certain practical effects. For instance, in this case, something I've been told was that in order to save money, instead of doing pyrotechnics, the best way to describe it would be this. Let me pull this down real quick. The best way to describe it would be to have a shot where somebody's like around the corner, right? And they're like around the corner from a bank or a barn or like whatever. And they want to show images of like bullets hitting around there, like hitting the side of the wall next to that person. What they will do is they will have to literally like drill a hole, set up like an explosive cap in there, fill it back in, tie all these things together, daisy chain them together, and then have the person there doing the acting and have to do a take and then light them all off in the sequence that they want them to. And that can be time consuming. That can be expensive because you have to hire someone to do that. What I've been told is that in this case on Rust, one of the things that they were doing was so that they didn't have to do that to save time, that they were filming two separate sequences. One, they would take a shot where they were shooting into things, like they were shooting into a wall with live bullets. So that they wouldn't have to waste time or waste money with the pyro stuff. And then they would film the second part over top of that and kind of splice them together in editing. And then you can do as many takes as you want. If an actor misses up a take, you don't have to bring the pyro guy back in and do it all over again. So from that semblance, it makes sense. But there are cases where live ammunition is on the set of movies. When this first came out, everyone said that's never something that happens. It can be in certain cases. One thing that doesn't happen or shouldn't happen is target practice, like has been reported. That is absolute insanity. Right? That is absolute fucking insanity. Makes no sense. Should not be happening. This is what I wanted because this is someone we haven't talked a ton about yet. And we need to talk a little bit about this man. So over the past several days, we've heard a lot about Alec Baldwin and his role in the shooting on the set of Rust, where he killed Helena Hutchins and injured the director. We've heard a lot about Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, the 24-year-old inexperienced armorer who clearly had no business having the amount of responsibility that she had on this set. But one other name that's been thrown in there a lot is the name of the assistant director, who is the last person to have his hands on this gun before he gave it to Alec Baldwin. And we're starting to learn more about him as well. And definitely, listen guys, definitely there are a lot of things that are coming out that are meant to distract a little bit from Alec Baldwin personally. But at the end of the day, this man is the producer and is responsible for so much of what goes down. Everything. He's responsible for everything that goes down on this set, from safety on down. Alec Baldwin, assistant director, however, had a history of unsafe practices, prop maker says. Sets were almost always allowed to become increasingly claustrophobic, no established fire lanes, exits blocked, prop maker Maggie Gohl said. Los Angeles. The assistant director on the set of Rust, where Alec Baldwin fired a prop gun, again, not the right terminology. This was a real gun, ladies and gentlemen. A fully functional gun, not a prop gun, that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins, had previously allowed an unsafe working environment on production, according to a prop maker who worked with them. Dave Halls, at first he seemed like an older, affable first assistant director with the usual run of idiosyncrasies, but that facade soon disappeared. According to prop maker Maggie Gohl, who said she was called to work on Hulu's Into the Dark anthology series. He did not maintain a safe working environment. Sets were mostly always allowed to become increasingly claustrophobic, no established fire lanes, exits blocked, safety meetings were non-existent. According to court records, Halls handed the prop gun to Baldwin before the fatal shooting at Bonanza Ranch in New Mexico, indicating incorrectly that the weapon didn't carry live rounds by yelling, "Cold gun," which is what he should have done if he'd fucking checked it in any way. Halls did not respond to requests for comment Friday and Saturday. I would not speak if I was him. I would keep my mouth shut and make sure I have all my lawyers in line. But an interesting thing, which is what that super chat reminded me of, was this. Before Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger, 2 film set workers handled the gun on set. Something that has been kind of left out a little bit they want to make it sound like Hannah Gutierrez, like the armorer, just was like, here you go, made sure it was good to go, and then handed it to Dave Halls, the assistant director. That's not really what happened. An affidavit filed by Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office detective states that armorer Hannah Gutierrez had set up 3 prop guns in a gray cart that, because of pandemic restrictions, was kept outside a church-like building where filming of the Western Rust was taking place. Assistant director Dave Halls grabbed one and took it to Baldwin. "Cold gun," Halls yelled, according to court record, indicating it did not contain a live round. Unbeknown to him, the affidavit states it did. So we have some misconstruing of how this happened. It's not like Hannah Gutierrez was like, hey, these are good, this one's good, here you go. There was 3 guns that she had laid out on this thing. Now, you would assume that none of them should have fucking live ammunition in them when they're going to do this. I don't know what the restrictions were on set, how they were handling it, but not something that should have happened. But the fact that these were just laying out there, he went up and grabbed one. Did he not check it? What did he do? These are all the things that we need to find out in the coming days. But apparently, according to these people that worked with them, he's had a disregard for safety protocols with firearms before. Gall, an experienced special effects technician and pyrotechnician, said in one instance on set, Halls attempted to keep filming even after the lead pyrotech had suffered a medical emergency and the set had become unsafe. In a statement to NBC News, which produced Into the Dark, they said they couldn't comment on personal matters when asked about the complaints against Halls. The gun Baldwin used was supposed to contain blanks and had misfired before, like we said. We were rehearsing and it went off. I ran out. We all ran out, said a female caller on the emergency dispatcher. There's absolutely no reason that gun safety should be ignored on set, even when there is a non-firing prop firearm, Gall said. On the set of Into the Dark, Halls did not feel the same and neglected to hold safety meetings or make announcements prior to the appearance of a firearm on set. The only reason the crew was made aware of a weapon's presence was because the assistant prop master demanded Dave acknowledge and announce the situation each day. The anthology series was a side letter agreement that allowed for lesser working conditions, no true jurisdiction over covered union work, aka non-preferential hiring and what amounts to poverty wages for the crew. Sounds a lot like what's been going on the set of Rust as well. So now you have an assistant director who is the last person to hold this. An assistant director who is the last person to hold this in their hand, declared it cold, and has a history of not adhering to safety protocols, especially regarding firearms. So not only is Alec Baldwin in a world full of hurt, not only is the armor in a world full of hurt, but the assistant director, Dave Halls, certainly seems like he has a lot to answer for in this as well. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.